Welcome to We Fixed Real Estate. Sitting here with Fred and Renee having a heated pre-podcast meeting discussion about calling. Is the phone dead, Fred?
Yes. Okay. So here's my issue and here's my solution. And actually, I want to say from the beginning that some agents have actually appreciated this. So in real estate, these people have, since the dawn of the invention of the telephone in the real estate business, have just called up, hey, what's going on with your property? Or blah, 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 blah. Or the best one, tell me about your buyers. And I still get that one, which is completely illegal. My answer is always, they're fully qualified and here's our fully underwritten pre-approval, period. But these people want to call because it's a social situation.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate agents are looking to, a lot of them, most of them, make friends with you, go around and go to open houses with you. And oh, this is the kitchen. I swear to God, I've heard this. This is the kitchen. Really? The thing with the stove and the refrigerator? I thought it was the bathroom and I was going to be in the freezer. I mean, literally, this is what they do. We look at this as a business. Yes, we want to be friendly and we want to be professional with you, but we don't need to make friends. But these agents are all in cliques. There's all the little realtor meetings, and that's why they have the local associations and they have this meeting and that meeting and this party and that party. It's like, no, this is a business. You want to get together, fine. But their whole thing is every one of them calls each one of them. And then guess what? We work with, René and I work on every deal. So therefore, the two of us need to know everything. So if I'm on the phone with somebody and for some reason I don't recall something and René doesn't know about it, and then he calls and it just gets to be a cluster, you know what? So we just said to him, hey, just email us your question. Here was a simple one. It's like, well, why is your buyer wanting a closing date in 2 months instead of recent? And I just wrote back, hey, he's got capital gains, he's paying cash, and he doesn't want to cash them until next year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's simple things, but they still want to call. Calling is, they think, it's the only way to do it so they can have a conversation with you. Plus, to be honest, we don't want to talk to them about our
talking
buyers.
about agent to agent calls.
Agent
not so
to
much,
agent.
This is
All
like,
agent to
if
agent.
you've got a person buying a home from you, you're going to talk to them.
Well, I actually counter that. I'm actually going to agree with this on with Fred here. I mean, even with clients, I understand clients want to get on the call to understand like how the offer is going to be written. But there's a lot of things where like if you just click on the link that we send you, you get your major questions answered, right? It's like, oh, like it's simple. Sometimes it's simple questions as, can we go see this house? Like we don't need to get on a phone call to discuss how we're going to go check these houses out, right? It's like, tell me when you want to go see the property and we'll schedule it. So even with, I think it comes to buyers as well, but it's mostly agents, right? We do want to call for every little thing. It's just difficult to know when you should and when you shouldn't answer the phone, because sometimes it's going to help the negotiation, right? Whenever you do answer the phone, you get to learn a little bit more about the agent. Mm-hmm. I like to answer the phone because I know that there's a lot of times where you can fill agents out. And that's how I typically know whether we need to go incredibly more over a list or if they're just fishing for offers, because I can hear and I can feel their anxiety over the phone. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of these people, they think they're professional phone callers, but they really aren't, right? And that's, I think that's the problem.
It's the only way they know is the thing. And, you know, it's, as time goes on, we're in a litigious society. And it's a he said, she said. Phone call's not going to do it. You know, we have Slack channels that we deal in, so everything's in there. We actually record our initial call with, we do a Google Meet to talk to a prospective buyer or seller, or even for a mortgage. And then it's there. We all remember it. We dump it into a Slack channel. So we want to be incredibly transparent. And our communications through Slack, you know, I've gone through all this. I've never seen another agent have a Slack channel. They just don't get it. They're still communicating with text and emails with their owners. And
you can also do a huddle on Slack too. So you do that.
Absolutely. Oh, we do. We do them all the time. Hey, let's have a huddle and talk about what we want to offer. And here's some this and that about it. And then the agents also get off on just texting a million things. It's like they want us to answer everything all the time. We have one now. So you can't stop texting. I mean, we'll get to it if it's important, but it's like she's telling me her feelings, and it's like, well, we're dealing with a contract. I mean, and don't get me started on how bad your agents submit contracts. Here's what I want you to do. If you're searching for an agent, ask them to fill out a contract for a property that's, you think you're going to want to do, and see what their contract looks like. Okay. You're not going to sign it. You just want to see how they prepare it. It'll scare you, some of them. I mean, stuff is missing, dates are missing.
How does the average person
numbers,
know that stuff's missing, though?
because it's a logical fill in the blank contract. It's pretty easy.
Okay.
Or send it to an attorney friend who does real estate, and just to see. I mean, we're happy to do that for people. We pride ourselves in getting contracts done right, because we understand what's going to happen down the road. And it seems like these agencies just throw these people out there and don't check their work and, clean it up later. And that's why there are errors and admission costs. And by the way, if you're an agent looking to go somewhere, and you have to ask the question, how much is my errors and admission going to cost me if I join your company? And what you're doing is paying errors and admission insurance based on the previous people of how terrible they were. So that tells you about the manager who doesn't teach them how to do it and or doesn't check the work. I mean, for example, our E&O is like nothing. We've never had a claim knock on everything. And if you come and work for us, you don't have to do paperwork. We do it all, because then we know it's right. And if we screw it up, that's on us. So it's like it's another thing about agents. I mean, all these agents who do these terrible contracts have the most beautiful pictures of themselves holding it, or like this. And it's a JPEG inside their Gmail accounts that they're sending out. And it's like, well, I didn't want to see this on every email you send. It's just so 1994. I mean, it's just awful. And bitching, but I mean, you really got to check out who that person is. It's more than just they're worse. They're going to tell you about. Well, if they got worse, show you how good they can do a contract and how clean it's going to be. And what are your negotiating skills? What would you do if this situation come up or that situation comes up? Really put them on their heels, because people don't know what questions to ask, because the agent wants to take on the entire conversation and tell you how great they are. I mean, we've gone through this with we have a seller now who, it's crazy listing and it's actually under contract, but he was kind of, it's been a long time. The house is kind of a mess, but he was still shopping for other agents. And what he realized is we're taking care of him. And there's just saying, oh, you didn't use a local agent. And that's such BS. I mean, if you need a local agent to sell your property, how come they're accepting our contracts when we're representing buyers and we're not from that local area? Huh? So, and would you need a local agent to bring in an agent from far away? It's the buyers who look on Redfin and Zillow and see the property, and that's when they make offers and go see properties. It's got nothing to do with you being a local agent as a listing agent. I will tell I'm blue in the face. I'll keep going on this one. So now let me take a breath. Ready?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of stole a lot of my conversation there.
Sorry, dude.
Here's the thing. It's about the transparency of purchases. And I do think that there is a lot of value in talking over the phone. So I do want to make the note that, I mean, a lot of our clients, they want us to get on the phone with the other agents. But here is a nuance that I want to bring up. A lot of clients want us to be on phone calls with the other agents because they have heard articles about what a good agent is going to do, right? And I think that there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of articles that are, one, might be clickbait, and two, have started based on it at a really, really bad negotiation tactics, right? Because the more that an agent does stuff on the phone, if they have not been trained, and for whatever reason, I've spoken to agents that have been in the industry for 20, 30 plus years, and they love to tell me, just like Fred likes to say, like, oh, I've been in the industry for 30 years. and they still make these mistakes, right? There's a lack of training on phone conversations and phone procedures, their best practices. So I think the reason that Fred and I really work together is because we understand that for the most part, we want to have everything in writing, right? I've been in the industry long enough where I do make sure that it's really, really limited to when I do get on the phone. But sometimes I do see when there's texting back and forth, where it's like texting for 20 minutes, where a 45-second conversation would have finished up the call. And that's the thing, right? Like the flexibility of like what's efficient. I mean, you see how in the United States, there's going to be a Department of Government Efficiency, right? And sometimes in the pursuit of efficiency of like not getting on a call, it becomes inefficient, right? So that's where like you really need to figure out like what's the middle ground of efficiency, because it's like, you know what, sometimes you get on the phone, because your nation's in a phone call. A lot of the times there's been messages where even with our own clients, they feel like we're yelling at them, but it's just because it's text loses translation. You're not able to kind of give the nuance of personality of a voice. And that's why AI won't really be able to replace humans, because you can't really do that with the LM. Right? That's what I'll finish my.
Eventually will be with like Hal from what's that movie?
Ace Odyssey?
Yeah, 2000. Yeah.
Yeah, René, you brought up probably the best point of what I emphasize in our business. Sometimes a phone call can cut through 30 emails of bullshit, especially if the especially if the email gets derailed or the text message gets derailed and suddenly people are misinterpreting what you're saying. That's the time. That's the number one time that the phone, you got to hop on a call.
Yep. No, I agree. There's times for it, but I mean, the majority of them, just ridiculous. But
yeah, if you're using the phone call to like sell, or you're using the phone call to kind of like ingratiate yourself to the person, that gets tired real fast.
Yeah, and the most common phone conversation that I get from agents is the home still available? And it's just like, you could have, like Fred hates this call. I appreciate it just because I do them I send a message, because if a house is on the market for 20 or 30 days, most often than not, there might be negotiations in place, right? There might be an offer that was accepted, but it hasn't been changed to pending, right? So I think it is important for an agent, before they waste their time touring, to make sure that the home is available. But calls like that, they don't need to be a phone call. They could be a text message saying like, hey, is the home still available? I have clients who have not viewed it, but want to see if there's no offer accepted.
Should the MLS be updated? I can't think of
it. What happens? The MLS doesn't get updated until you put the deposit down. So that can be 2 or 3 days.
It's a best practice, right? So one way of using the MLS is to, once you accept a contract, you immediately change the MLS to say contingent or pending. But one of the best practices for agents is that the contract's not really a contract until there's money involved, right? So once they've made a deposit, which usually takes either 1 to 2, 3 days, however long it takes for, a buyer to submit the escrow, then it's like, okay, it's a real purchase. We know what's going on, and then change to contingent or to pending. Some agents then are sneaky and it's accepted, but because it's contingent and it might fall out of contract, they don't change it, right? So in those cases, it's we never know when someone actually accepted a contract, but they're trying to be sneaky. And we can't really do anything to control that. But for the most part, once someone has accepted an offer, it takes a couple of days for them to change the pending.
I can see now why you'd be getting so many phone calls, because you never know. Are you guys holding in your back pocket just in case someone else puts in an offer? Because it's not.
And there's nobody policing this stuff, by the way. So agents get away with whatever they get away with. We had one that didn't put it as pending until 7 days. It's like, really? Even though the deposit was made. Well, the inspection's not done, they said. Well, so we report him to the MLS. So it's crazy. Anyway, moving on.
That was fascinating. That was educational. Got to know what's this other thing we were talking about?
I have an ethical issue, so I want to bring it out to the public. So we have these buyers who saw this house a few months ago with another agent, but that doesn't matter. That's not the point. They call us up and they say, hey, we want to get, they actually took it off the market, and the buyer calls and they sign a contract with them. And then we go back to the agent and say, hey, our people are interested in doing an offer. They're real, they're cash. They want to get in and just have one more look. And the agent gets back to me and says, the seller, the wife, is just getting home from having brain surgery for cancer and needs to recover. And their goal is to move to San Diego as soon as they can and whatever. So here's the secondary part of this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The property is in El Segundo. And if you look at a map, go to Google Maps or Google Earth and look at El Segundo, you'll see it's right next to a couple of things. The Los Angeles International Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world. The Arco, or I forget which company, refinery. They take in, we see boats out, I don't know, a mile or two, who plug in the oil that they're bringing in from wherever, and that oil is going underneath the ocean into this plant, and it's being refined. And there's also a very, very large electrical power station. So these people have been living there a long time. So let's just make the generic assumption that this woman has brain cancer because she's been living near an airport, been living near an oil refinery, and been living near this electric plant. I mean, that's a triple whammy. And I'm saying to myself, well, first of all, do I try to use this as leverage in negotiating? And the thing is about the buyers is they've lived in the area for years. Guy grew up here. So he knows the story with the property. And the fact that this woman came home with brain cancer, but he still wants to buy this place. Do you see the ethical conundrum that I'm in? You know, it's like,
just tell him, but I think, have they proved it? Or is this hypothetical?
No, it is completely not proven. But it's just like, if you got the chance to live near these three things or not,
Would you?
Exactly. So I'm in this ethical conundrum, but you know what I mean? He has said over and over to me, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. It's like, okay, dude, we're going to give him all the disclosures, everything. He's going to sign everything. The natural hazard disclosure should be really interesting. The NHD, as it's called, because that describes all of the crap that's wrong. It's like in Northern California, it tells you, especially if you're in the peninsula, it's going to tell you not that you're going to die from an earthquake, but how you're going to die from an earthquake. In other words, anything in the flats, like, I don't know, San Carlos along where the 101 is, you're going to get sucked into the ground. You know, it's like, that's how you're going to die, as opposed to being up in the hill where everything is just going to collapse and you're going to roll down the hill and die. So it's California. Welcome to Disaster City, but this one's a little more than a normal thing. So I'm just throwing that out there, and we'd love to hear anybody's responses to this. So,
yeah, I mean, mine is, it's a free market. I mean, people can buy the house wherever they want if they understand the risks.
Yep.
And there's probably a good chance that the house is already discounted from other neighborhoods that aren't near the airport. And
it's worth, I don't know, 150 less than the next town down, which is Manhattan Beach. The same house was there. I mean, easily, because that's where my comps are coming from. Because there's not many comps in El Segundo. El Segundo 2 years ago was the international champions of Little League Baseball, by the way, if we all remember that.
I think I do.
So I guess these kids are all roided up, you know.
Okay, now I pissed off El Segundo.
No, just kidding, kids. No,
I mean, would you get the same ethical dilemma if someone wanted to buy their house next to high voltage power lines and EMFs?
Let's talk about that. Hang on a second, kids. I have a visual. This is worth it.
Yeah, I think I know what you're showing me.
There we go.
The EMF transmitter, or it's a measuring.
You measured it, yeah. Okay, so it can turn it on and so that's my reading for being near a computer. Obviously, it's going to be ugly. So yeah, take this with you, especially if you're going to go to a property that's you have this situation. Matter of fact, I forgot to tell, we have a client interested in a couple of properties that have these in Fremont, but go there and see that. And probably, I'm going to say it should be part of the inspection. I don't know if the inspectors do that or not, but you may want to ask them. But it's called electromagnetic radiation tester. So every real estate agent should have one of those.
And where's one?
You know, this is like $30, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's cheap enough. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you can get fancier ones, a couple hundred. I don't know what the difference is. But at least you get an idea if you're going to be sitting at the swimming pool and there's like 50 gazillion bits of radiation on there. You know, it's a problem.
everyone should have, I mean, every agent should have one, but if you're looking at houses and it's somewhat important to you, $30 is a small price to pay to just walk through the open house and see what the heck's going on with the EMFs.
Totally. And we can put a link in the channel here for some, one of them.
Yeah, that's a handy tip. Unless you look like a pro going through the open house.
Very cool. I don't have my being the up Scotty device. You look like a nerd going through it. That's okay.
René, do you carry one? An EMF detector?
I have someone, I have one, and I actually gave it to one of our clients a while back as a little gift.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I have a whole bunch of gadgets that I bought over the years. I have like a little device, checks if there's like a beam. I forget what it's called.
A stud finder?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, stud finder.
Yeah, because it's kind of easy to hit on the walls and figure it out. But that device is kind of cool. It beeps really well. I have one of those.
Your houses, it's hard, especially if it's plastery. There's no way you can do it.
I have like 3 measuring tapes around the car, like one in the front, one in the back seat, and a whole bunch of.
And they're an app on your phone too. So
What about a voltage tester?
Yeah, that one I keep in the front as well. I mean, here's the thing, right? So talking about voltage testing. So one of the things that they're right up before closing that buyers want to do is a walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I've talked about the walkthrough before, which is you're going to go check on the home to see how it is. And you're mostly expecting it to be the way that you saw it during the open house. And if there was an inspection period, during the inspection period, right? And the biggest concern is if it was staged or if there was furniture from the sellers that they didn't break any doors or windows or that the appliances don't work as expected, right? It's a lot of what was expected. They're not giving you at the end of closing a new home, right? And sometimes it has been where buyers go in with their voltage meter. And it's like, that is an inspection item, right? That's the reality of it. And sometimes buyers find out that there is like one plug that doesn't have power or that it's not functioning the way that I expected it to work. But the problem is that that's something that is more of an inspection item, not a walkthrough item, right? The walkthrough item is to really magnify the main things of a house, a broken window, a door that's not open, being able to open it or close it, that you expect it to be able to open and close it. Sometimes there's EV chargers, that the sellers didn't pull those EV chargers. The doorbell, there's a lot of Ring doorbells or any of the smart doorbells. That's the stuff that you're looking for a walkthrough, right? But if you're waiting for the walkthrough to check on those items for electrical, there might be some disappointment there. So that's an inspection item that you have to verify. You have to make sure that the inspector went through the entire house to go check on that all the plugs work. If it doesn't, someone during the open houses, every buyer should have a voltage meter that they can make sure that there's power running throughout every outlet.
Yeah, you might not want to check every outlet, but you might want to check to see if it's actually volts.
Yeah, and I think there's buyers who want to go through every single outlet to make sure it works. And I can't blame them, right? But that's an inspection item. It's not a walkthrough item.
Yeah. Now you mentioned this Ring doorbell. What is the assumption that something like that would convey?
So that's actually part of the contract, right? There's a section that says like we're expecting the EV chargers, any smart devices, like even the Alexas. Like sometimes those can convey with the house, especially if you live in the Bay Area where everything is tech centric. There's a lot of smart homes, right? Even like projectors, right? The projectors that might be attached, some cost over, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 even, and it's kind of hard to remove them from where they put on the ceiling of the home. So that,
Or
that's
they'll stick a $400 projector on there when the home toured a $10,000 one.
Yeah, so you kind of want to keep an eye on like what you expected that to be, and sometimes the sellers they have some emotional attachment to whatever device they have, and it's more of the if they're replacing it with a new device that's kind of at the same within the same parameters, right? But yeah, that's all. Everything is part of the contract in terms of those smart devices.
Talking about contracts, what's the strangest item you've ever seen someone request to convey?
The thing is about the contract, it's for things that are attached to the property. Anything other that's not attached, like flower pots, furniture, or anything like that, if you're getting a mortgage, I'm leading up to the answer to your question. If you're getting a mortgage, it has to say that all this crap, all this furniture, whatever it is conveyed at no cost. Because if it doesn't say that, the lender's going to come back and say, well, you need to value every item and get a professional evaluate. And then whatever that value is, you have to take that off the sale price. And most agents don't know this. They don't have a clue unless they're in Florida selling condos and they've done this for years and it's all the same. So they learned the first time. But you're not asking, if the hot tub is attached, you mark there's a hot tub. There's actually a spa check mark in a contract. And trying to think of sort of something that was crazy with a hot tub that they tried to convey, and I can't remember what it was. Something like all of the accoutrements to the hot tub and included like rubber duckies and stuff like that. I remember something goofy like that, but we try to keep these things under control. Mm-hmm. We know what's going to happen with sellers. We know what's going to happen if you represent buyers. But
what do you do with like animals? Like if somebody bought a house with a fish pond and it had a bunch of koi in it.
The koi pond is physically part of the property. Mm-hmm. The water and the fish are chattel. I mean, they're not part of the property because it can be easily removed. So, yeah, I do remember having these, and we would say all fish convey with the property at no additional cost. Okay. Or sometimes people take the fish with them.
Yeah, I would think so. Some of those koi can be very pricey.
Exactly. So you gotta say, I want this one that's 12.3 inches. Mark the fish. I want these 4. You can take the rest.
Or they might purchase the fish separately and use their rebate to purchase the koi.
There you go. Another use for a rebate. By the way, our rebates are alive and well because 95% of the deals we look at all have a buyer broker fee. I wonder why. Can you say conspiracy? Can you say I can't wait for the Justice Department to sign in. It's still ridiculous.
Yeah, beyond ridiculous. He's going to jump in and chime in on that?
The current Justice Department. I don't think Congress or former Congressman Getz is going to put this high on his priority list.
Well, we can hope. Commissions are still strong and going strong. I know.
Yeah, we had an offer the other day, 28 offers in Fremont. They were paying 2.5%. Why? Nobody has the answer for it.
Zillow has the default commission cost at 6%. I was just kind of fooling around with the levers on what the house.
And they were actually a brokerage, so that's pretty interesting.
Well, I don't know. It's in there. If you look at the house and you're like figuring out how much you would get if you sold your house.
The seller
6%.
Well, you want to hear conspiracies? I've noticed that. Well, you know what? I hadn't seen that part on Zillow. That's probably the complaint that I have from Zillow. But I do give props to Zillow because they seem to be the only, I guess, what would you call it? Marketing MLS? What would you call Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, Fred? What would the name of that be?
They're syndicated websites.
Yeah. So I gave Zillow props for seeing pretty much the only syndicator that I've seen that has the previous list price and sale price of a home that's been in the market for a long time. What I've noticed from Redfin and from other websites is, let's say that a house did not sell in June and they relist in August. There's no history of a changes of list price or anything. And Zillow is actually keeping that information, which is really valuable for the consumer, right? To figure out like, hey, how has the market changed? What are the expectations? Has there been any change? And it's, I don't know. I think that also kind of makes it harder for a consumer to be able to do a lot of the work themselves, right?
But they so they got to come to us or their agent and look in the multiple listing service and see what's in there.
Yeah.
Which is, it should be just out there and transparent, but that's the choice of the individual websites, because I don't think it's required by the MLS, but it should be.
I mean, that's the biggest value of MLS though, right? It's that you have the data to showcase what the past offers have been or list price, right? So,
but the other thing you don't know is how long it might have been off market before it went on market. So it could be forever, these sites. Crazy. Anyway, let's get to one last thing.
Yeah. What's on the top of mind for you?
From last month, we had this one buyer, and he refused to get a fully underwritten mortgage pre-approved. I mean, just refused. We found out why, because his best friend's in the mortgage business, but he really was shopping him and somebody else. Ends up, he goes under contract and we're fine, and he ends up going not with his friend. So he didn't want to waste the credit or something, whatever. But yesterday, we had a different situation. We had buyers. We took them on as buyers. We told them, get it fully underwritten pre-approval. They'd previously gone to somebody who said it'll take a month. Said no. They were doing a jumbo loan. And actually they're doing a conforming loan. So we could have done it in 48 hours, but we sent it to one of the big banks who was a little busy and didn't get it finished by the time there was a deadline. Well, so we put the offer in with it was coming up on the weekend. So they told him we'll have it on Monday. So we did a 4 or 5J, I forget, mortgage approval. We put it, the regular approval subject to the fully underwritten. We wrote them and said, look, it's not going to be a problem, blah, blah, blah. They ended up being the highest price and lost out because they didn't have the fully underwritten mortgage pre-approval.
Oh, no.
They couldn't waive all the conditions. Yeah. And the risk was that they would lose. They didn't, if they waived it, and for some reason, the lender didn't do it, they would have lost the 3% of their sale price, which is their escrow deposit. And it was like, $1.4 million, $1.5 million, whatever it was. It's a lot of money to just throw away with the idea of getting a house. Now he's going to get the fully underwritten. They said now Friday, so he'll be in good shape going forward. But to all of you who don't want to get a fully underwritten pre-approval, there's the lesson. Get it. You're going to have to go through the approval process anyway. You can, when you get under contract, you go back to the fully underwritten mortgage company and their rate is, 0.25% higher than somebody else. You can go to the other company or make 2 applications. Nobody says you can't make 2 applications. It might cost you some money for an appraisal on both, but and we've had people who do 2 applications and decide like 5 days before. So it's a little bit of a pain. Sometimes the escrow companies charge you a little more for doing double work with the mortgage company, which, whatever. But we can't stress it enough. We're not here to just hear ourselves talk. This is the real world thing, especially we still had Fremont. Now again is the epicenter of Looney Tunes, Cupertino, Looney Tunes. you're going to buy in a Looney Tunes location, got to be super prepared. And even the fully underwritten doesn't work sometimes. You're going to get beat out by cash deals. That's why we have our cash offer program. So, anyway, I'm talking till I'm blue in the face about it. So, but we can't make you do it. But if you're going to be that against it and you want to buy a free month, we can't even represent you because we know we're going to lose. Why would we write contracts where we know we're going to lose? So, FUMPA, fully underwritten mortgage pre-approvals. Do it.
Yeah. It makes entire sense. You're not going to go into a game without being prepared. You're in it to win it, especially in a hot market. Unless you're just
going to play tennis without a racket.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get it off your hand, but doesn't work.
Good advice. René, last thoughts?
Yeah, well, my last thoughts were going to be a little market update here on the offering that we made this week. And you know what? I think one of the issues with saying like, hey, one offer had 26 offers is that it's all really just home to home, right? I refuse to make the general assumption that just because one house received 26 offers, that every other house in the entire Bay Area is going to be that competitive, right? Sometimes it's just street to street, right? Where, on one side of the street, there's a sewer that you can see from the backyard, or that there's just no backyard, right? So it's just like, it's really case to case. So that's part of what a good agent should do is, figure out why that house was ultra competitive, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you do have to deal with the fact that some agents are not going to be transparent, right? Some agents are going to be bluffing about how many offers they receive. And, sometimes a lot of the offers are because there was a gimmick in the pricing structure. If a house is going to sell for $2 million and they listed it at $1 million, well, of course you're going to receive 30 offers because people think that they're going to get the deal of the century, right? Yeah. So I think it's all, Brad, I don't think said this in the entire episode, but it still boils down to context, right? Of every residential transaction. So we are working with deals right now. We're getting them for either right at list or even slightly below list. So there's, again, every house case to case.
Well, do you see prices dropping a little bit right now?
Yeah, you have markets like Orinda where they do have the great schools, but things like fire insurance and,
fire insurance
create a headache for buyers. It kind of pushes away the values a little bit downward. I think Oakland is still being hurt by market conditions. San Francisco, really, there's a lot of pockets that are not selling. A lot of them. Things that would have gone for $2 million that are still in the market after 60 or even 6 months now. So
parts of Los Angeles for sure quieting down. The Hollywood Hills never really picked up after the mansion tax.
Yeah.
So that, and it trickled down even to the lower prices. Parts of Orange County are sitting quietly, but the bottom line is single family houses in great school districts, they're going to move. That's still not going to be a problem. Parts of San Diego. Hey, how about that block of San Diego that you were talking about? Are they still all for sale there?
They just another one just came to the market right next to me. They've finished fixing it up. Everything's going about 6 houses sold on my street. And
so it's picking up.
They're in pending, but they're the ones that have closed have all gone right around list price, maybe a few dollars below. But yeah, it seems strong, at least where I am. But
yeah, well, now we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and between Thanksgiving and the Super Bowl, it's usually pretty quiet. Even though we've done deals on Christmas Day in the last 3 years, it's just, it's here or there, but the buyers are slowing down. Everybody's getting into holiday mode. And then hopefully we get some rain in January, rain and cold, and that slows it down, and it picks up around February. So,
and as it picks up, it's chances are it's picking up at a higher price. It's picking up in a more heated environment. So this lull stage might be a time to find the home.
See, you figured that out. That's what we can tell everybody. Everybody we've talked to in the last couple of weeks, we said, hey, it's a really good time that you called. Of course, we still have 28 offers on a place because it's Fremont, but maybe we have 15 offers instead of 28. And remember, with 28 offers, there's 27 losers. And probably half of them had no idea what was going on with terrible agents and submitting, contingent contracts. So, you figure a third of those buyers are super serious, know what they're doing, people. So that's your competition. Remember this. In situations where there's more than one buyer, you're not negotiating with a seller. You're competing against the other buyers. You have to make yourself look prettier than them. It's a beauty contest. If you come out and say the right things and do your talent right and look good in the dress, you're a winner. They don't have those things anymore, do they? But you know what I mean. So
I do know what you mean, but it's all going to be on paper because of anti-discriminatory fair housing. Can't just dress up in a dress and write them a letter.
Exactly.
On that note, this has been another episode of We Fixed Real Estate.
Yes, it has. You didn't screw that up.
I didn't. It almost didn't seem like it was done.
Yeah, it was wrong. Let's do it again.
See you guys next week.
Okay, cheers.